Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Jacob Shelby, and I am going to present on socialism as it relates to human resources. And so, without further ado, let me get my slideshow up. Excuse this for one moment. There we go. Go down here and start again. Okay. So, socialism, a human resources perspective. Human resources is defined as the human labor coefficient of the organization, the managers and the people who are managed by the organization, the way in which people are managed, the needs of the people who are working for the organization, and the way in which people lead in an effective way. Humanity is how everything runs. As you can see here, you see a bunch of people running on the wheels of industry. External influences for HR. Here are four of them. Government regulations, which are a big one. This is basically the rules in which businesses can operate in a system. Here in the US, we have a capitalist open market or free market system where it's limited regulation. We have economy health, which you can think of the stock market. You can think of booms and busts and just general health of the whole economy. You have cultural changes that affect HR, and cultural changes and culture in itself is the way that people think. And a lot of times you see this with religion. People have religions that they operate with and how they kind of view the world. Technology, we have iPhones, we have computers, things that develop and change the whole workforce in general. And often these can replace human resources, and they are more efficient, and we have people run those new technologies. So a little bit of a background on socialism. Socialism is defined as the abolishment of private property, promotion of central planning, and the collective ownership of the means of production. So we have famous adopters of socialism, and some of you may know these. Adolf Hitler was one, and he started National Socialism, which we call Nazi, in Germany. Joseph Stalin, social communism in the Soviet Union. Mao Zedong, Chinese socialism in China. And then today we have Bernie Sanders, democratic socialism in the United States of America. So the father of socialism, widely known, is Karl Marx, and he defined socialism as, well, socialism is the transitional state, social state between the overthrow of capitalism and the realization of communism. That's pretty cool. Socialism is used in these ways. Hitler used socialism to protect the Aryan race from the other barbaric nations. Stalin used socialism to defend the exploited from the exploiters. Mao Zedong was responsible for the Great Leap Forward, which proposed to defend the nation of all internal enemies. And Bernie Sanders proposes to protect the poor and the middle class from the greed of the rich and inequity of capitalism. So let's just go through a bunch of these and why these socialists propose what they do, their ideologies. Socialism equals death. So in the last 100 years, we've seen this on full scale. So when it comes to human resources, when you lose a bunch of people to death, that's not good. So here we go. Socialist ideas of fixing inequity eventually morph into human catastrophes. Central planning can take on a whole new meaning. Adolf Hitler in Germany protected his Aryan race and killed an estimated 11 million people. Mao Zedong used his socialist ideas to take on internal enemies, killed an estimated 45 million people. Joseph Stalin is credited for varying range of deaths for his role in defending the exploited from the exploiters, and killed an estimated 3 million to 60 million people. That's not very cool. Not cool, guys. You can see a lot of deaths here from internment camps. What's the difference in socialism and capitalism? Well, on this slide, you can see a bunch of our forefathers debating over the Declaration of Independence before they signed it and sent it off to England. What were these forefathers doing? Well, they weren't creating a new nation in itself. They were actually rebelling from a nation as well. And the letter that they wrote to them was a rebellion letter. And we hold it dear to us here in America. The Declaration of Independence written to England states exactly how the United States feels when it comes to oppressive governments. And we'll quote here, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute a new government." That's pretty clear. What does socialism do? Socialism proposes the idea of equality of outcome rather than equality of opportunity. This is often pitched as collectivism. And we can see this in China today. It's out overtly communist. Collectivism is the practice or principle of giving a group priority over the individual. This is in stark contrast to what was just said in the Declaration of Independence. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Everybody's created equal. And anything that comes in between these individual rights, which is individuals' rights, should be abolished. And collectivism preaches the opposite, the practice or principle of giving a group priority over the individual. So we can see that here. Defining factors would be redistribution of wealth from one group to another or one person to another. Central planning of economies, goods produced, consumed, big government, basically. Individual liberty is abolished in favor of the group. Socialism, because waiting in lines for toilet paper, medicine, and food bring us all together. And this is shot in Venezuela, 18 years of socialism. You can see this happening live on the news pretty regularly. So, what does our U.S. Constitution say about human resources and human rights? The U.S. Constitution at its core protects the rights of the individual over the rights of the collective. Thus, the heavy hand of a socialist government is fundamentally unconstitutional. And I would like to Selah that one, or rest on that one. The rights of the group do not supersede the rights of the individual, no matter how moral it seems or how right it seems in the moment. Freedom of religion, inalienable rights by the Creator, are fundamental in the Constitution. Freedom from government tyranny via the right to bear arms, the right to free assembly, the right to own property should not be infringed. Freedom of searches and seizures of individuals without probable cause. And that last one is pretty, socialism really tries to go after that one. Freedom from searches and seizures of individuals without probable cause. If my three friends voted in a room, my three friends voted to take my money out of my wallet, it doesn't make it right for them to take my money out of the wallet. It's still stealing. And my individual rights should not be infringed upon just because somebody voted for it. Here we see Ronald Reagan on his Raptor using his Second Amendment with his bazooka and machine gun. Okay, so socialism, what is it? What kind of cultural effect does it have? It's an anti-God thinking, a godless ideology. Karl Marx said, the abolition of religion is the illusory happiness of the people, is the demand for real happiness. And let me just restate that. When we get rid of religion, people find true happiness instead of a false one. it's important to note that Mao, Marx, Stalin, and probably even Hitler, and I don't know for sure, all instituted a godless system where the government is God. Government provides for the well-being of the people, and they tamper down any freedom of religion and even the First Amendment rights to speak about these things. Here's a nice little photo you can send to your kids if you're on vacation. God was debunked by science. And this is something that would probably be propaganda today if Hitler was around. So where do we go from here? In a human resources topic, why would we choose capitalism? And here we go. Capitalism is the real moral system. Capitalism is responsible for taking 80% of the world out of dire poverty in the last, from 1970 to 2006. It is a single economic driver of GDP around the world. Capitalism is a voluntary system based on free association, demand, and choices. Socialism runs on the premise that capitalism is immoral and runs off of greed. This is wrong. And this is a thought that I gleaned from Ben Shapiro, but I think it's very relevant and kind of takes it home. To become a billionaire in capitalism, it takes millions and millions of individual voluntary transactions with people who want the products being sold. Which one of these millions of voluntary transactions became the immoral one? That's a good thought. And so we have some counter arguments here from socialist perspectives in the rebuttals, and I also like these a lot. So capitalism, okay, statement. Capitalism is wrong because it doesn't provide the rights that people require to live, i.e. healthcare. And the rebuttal is, healthcare is not a true right. If healthcare is a right, point to a doctor and tell them to serve you their labor. If they don't, it's not because they didn't want to or they are greedy. It's because they don't owe you their labor. It's another Selah moment there. Socialism does steal, and it doesn't matter if you voted for it or not. Inequity exists, therefore there has to have been inequality in the system. And the rebuttal to that would be, capitalism is based on equal opportunity without a promise for equal outcomes. Your neighbor is rich not because he or she stole from you, but because he or she took advantage of more opportunities. And that's another good one. In conclusion, socialism is an ideology that promises protection for certain few rights and ends with death of many. Socialism is fundamentally unconstitutional. Individual liberty is why the US is exceptional. And socialism promotes government over God. A godless society tries to find welfare in the protection and control of a moral government. And then we have the bibliography. So all this to say, I thought that this topic was very intriguing. It's a hot topic today. It's an election year, and we see two sides of the pie basically going forward with the Democrats and Republicans. And one wants to do socialism, welfare for all, and then the other wants to do more individual liberty and small government. You can probably, based on my my statements, you can probably see where I stand, but I'll leave it open. It's socialism and capitalism have been fighting for a long time. We had 2 world wars over that. And so I encourage all of us to look into the details of the tried and true, how has capitalism affected the world and how has socialism affected the world, and come to our own conclusions. So thanks a lot. Take care.